Okay, let's get back to this comment here because this is a big issue right now in the world, and almost nobody's talking about it, which is pretty sad. So everybody talks about the debt, the U.S. debt. Most people would know that the U.S. debt is holding approximately what, 35 trillion dollars in debt right now. $34 trillion in debt, but that's nothing compared to their unfunded pension liabilities. So this is from Radar over on Twitter, on X. It says new unfunded pensions in major European countries are at 300% to 500% of their GDP. Probably nothing. So this is the country here. You can see the private entitlements are the ones you can hardly see there. They're shaded in navy. So that's how much they have in their funds. And then the unfunded amount there, that's what they owe to people, whether that's through pensions, whether that's through their Medicare. I believe in the US, it's strictly Social Security and Medicare. And I believe that it's 6 times that in the US. So think about that, because it's easy to just, in theory, think that sounds pretty high. But so what that means is that if there was a fund, and let's say it was holding $1 million for simplicity, and all the people who are part of that fund, or who the fund is actually going to owe money to in terms of payouts, in terms of pension payouts, in terms of Medicare payouts, in terms of Social Security, which is pension, but let's say that they owe $1 billion on that. So that would be an extreme example, but that's the same kind of thing here, is that these funds have assets within them, stocks, bonds, probably some real estate holdings. So that's what they have as an asset on there, but their liability is much higher than that. So if everybody were to come try to collect their pensions or their Medicare, similar to how the banks do like a fractional reserve, that's the exact same thing with these pensions. So in the US, it's actually, I think, 6 times the debt, which would be about $300 trillion in unfunded pensions. So really kind of the point of why I wanted to talk about this today is for the youth, the people who are just getting into the workforce now. They're starting to pay into their pensions. Somebody needs to just sit down and have a real hard conversation with them, because it's glaringly obvious that these are never going to be able to be paid out. When you have $300 trillion in unfunded pension liabilities, that's never going to get paid out under any circumstances. There's nothing that they could do to ever pay that out. So kind of what we have to be doing is having this conversation with kids and like younger people, and just saying, like, you're never going to get access to this pension. So find a way to not pay into it. Instead of paying 5% of your salary in your pension and your work pension or your Medicare, I don't know how it works in the US, but like, instead of paying into those, knowing that you're never going to access that ever, start buying Bitcoin instead, or do something else. But Bitcoin's the most obvious choice there. But the point is that we just have to talk about this. We have to make it known to people, because I would guess that if you ask 100 people on the street, 99 people would not have a clue what we're talking about here. People kind of have the assumption already, even here in Canada, that I remember even 5 or 10 years ago talking to people at work about this. And in Canada here, we have the CPP, which is the Canada Pension Plan. But even 10 years ago, people were like, we're never going to be able to access this. It's our government owes too much money, but they're not even factoring in the unfunded pension there. They're just thinking about the government's debt, not the CPP unfunded amount. So the best thing we can be doing is just bringing this to light, making people aware of it, and having conversations with, 20, 25, even 30-year-olds, and just saying that you're never going to have access to this. So quit paying into it. Figure out a way to quit paying into it, whether you have to leave your job and start your own business where you don't have to pay into these things. Like in Canada, they force you to pay into the Canada Pension Plan. It's not even an option. So that's what I want to talk about today in terms of that. DXY says there is no fund. It's a Ponzi. That's why it's unfunded, relying on the youth to pay for the elderly. It's straight up a Ponzi, and people need to be aware of the fact that we're never going to have access to this, because the amount that's unfunded there, that means that they cannot pay those liabilities. It's unfunded. There's no asset there to cover the liability. It's a big deal. It's a very big deal. $300 trillion worth of unfunded. It might be more than that, actually. But these ones were it's the same across the world. It's the same in Canada. It's the same in Europe. It's the same probably everywhere that you have the ability for people to just straight up take money from as if you're not paying enough in taxes, that they have to take more to fund their Ponzi system. It's disgusting. Oh, the grinder is over here in Zap.stream. Zapped 121 sats. Says RIP pensions. And decreasing birth rates. That's the other part of that too. Is even if that's the percentage of GDP, but do you think that we're going to be more productive in terms of like humans, GDP producing, or do you think we're going to go the opposite way for a while? So this is just going to continue to be accelerating, just like the debt spiral. We're going into an unfunded pension spiral right now, and it's going to get pretty nasty out there.